What's up, people? It's Brianna Bassell from the Affluent and Black podcast. Today we have another special guest, Dave, co-founder and founder and owner of the Plug T-shirt store, a very reputable franchise store, and they are accomplishing a lot. So you can learn a lot from this episode. Dave, how you feeling?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good. So tell us who you are and your backstory, where you from, how did everything start?
So how you doing? I'm Dave Burchett. I own the Plug T-shirt store in the Vance warehouse. Started off just by coaching and teaching at Chicago Public Schools. Coach football, coach wrestling, DuSable, South Shore, Simeon, Jazz. And while we were coaching, obviously we had a lot of issues with apparel, like most people do. So me and one of my assistant coaches, we went and took some classes on the north side, learned the screen print, and then the business just kind of grew from there. It went from like the hustle stages to eventually it was just too much money to ignore. So I decided to go a different route, and we actually did a storefront versus a warehouse. But that business model we put together has proven to be very fruitful.
Okay. So how was it opening your first location? Because that's a big jump.
It is. So you're leaving a guaranteed salary. Obviously, I had a family and kids.
Yeah.
But one thing, I always tell all the business owners, you should never start a business without an exit strategy. So first, you have to understand what you're trying to do. Because if you build a business with exit strategy, that means you're going to create something of value, something that somebody wants to buy, and where you can walk away from. So we put a business model together that we felt was not just sustainable, but it was replicable. So we can put the franchise model in place. We can build something and eventually be sold off, and I don't have to work for the rest of my life and things like that.
Okay, cool. I do remember you telling a story on Facebook about when you first started, and I think you said your revenue goal was like 6 figures, and like you hit that like your first year.
Yeah, we did that in the first 8 months.
Oof, nice.
It was 8 or 9 months. So I'm not a fan of the beard. Like, I don't like facial hair. So if you remember from Simeon, I never had facial hair. Obviously, just a mustache or a goatee. But I'm a firm believer in, you shouldn't be comfortable. Right? So I set a goal with something that made me uncomfortable. And I said, okay, I'll grow the beard out. I'm not going to shave till we hit 6 figures. And obviously, we hit it, so I got to shave.
Nice.
And then I found another goal and said, okay, we're not going to do it until we get another store opened. So I grew it back out, and now it's till 10 stores. So I keep finding reasons to keep growing it back out. But I'm not a fan of it. But it keeps me motivated, and I'm happy when I do get to shave it off when I reach certain goals. But I'm a firm believer you shouldn't operate from an area of comfort.
That's interesting, because most people have monetary goals. Yours is the beer. You say, okay, this isn't going anywhere.
Well, I do have monetary goals. Those are my goals. Obviously, I was trying to hit $1 million. And we're trying to look at certain things like that, like liquid assets. But you got to find ways for yourself to be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
because that really pushes you towards that goal.
Yeah,
the payoff is obviously the money. That's what that's the whole purpose of a business.
Yeah,
to make money.
Absolutely. So you come from a wrestling background, right?
Correct.
So can you talk about that and how that kind of helped, start off the Plug life and those connections that you made doing wrestling?
Yeah. So I would say I wrestle, play football, and then coach wrestling and football. I believe sports have shaped me. So Coach Murray, Coach Connors, those were great. Coach Reed, those are great father figures, and so I believe they instill a work ethic in me. Wrestling is all about sacrifice and goals, because that's all you can do is it's all individual.
Yeah.
So you'll set a goal and then make a bunch of sacrifices to make the goal. So I think it's the same thing here. We set goals, but then we make sacrifices to reach those goals in business. But I believe that's the reason why I am the way I am. It's because of the wrestling background. Grateful for all the connections we've made. We've tons of Olympic athletes, world team members. We've been with signed some athletes, all from those wrestling connections. But wrestling's been really good to me.
Yeah, I think sports plays a huge role in discipline.
It does.
Huge role.
Not everybody's going to go pro, but I'm a firm believer you should put your kids in sports, because it gives them the framework of what type of adult they should be. So it's going to teach them how to be constructive in social settings. It's going to teach them, a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work, sacrifice, things like that. I don't believe that if you can look at the statistics on athletes, even female athletes, the pregnancy rate, all that stuff. So I just feel like strongly, just put your kids in sports.
Yeah, true. And I come from a sports background too. I played basketball a little bit at Simeon because I got into technology, but I played it like my entire life leading up to Simeon.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs who I interview,
yes, are sports people.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Were you're just naturally into wrestling or?
Yeah, I mean, no, we was playing football, and then our football coach was a wrestling coach, Coach Murray, and he made everybody wrestle, and but it was worth it. I liked it. I liked it because it was challenging. I like to be challenged. I like adversity. I like obstacles, things like that you can overcome. It's a sense of gratification. Certain things like that.
Okay, so back to the store. How did you get clientele that first year? Was that strictly off connections? What kind of marketing did you do? Direct mail, social?
So our business model is a little different. Most places you go into, we did a lot of research. I did tons of research on how I want this place to be. But most places you go into, when you go to a print shop, it's usually a counter. You tell them what you want. They give you a price. They may tell you how long it's going to be. Yeah. But there's no real transparency there. So, I looked at things like, like I said, I'm a firm believer in like education. Like, saying you should, I don't think you'll be successful in business if you're not constantly educating yourself, whether you're seeking classes, whether you're paying for an advisor, whether you're reading, things like that. But if you looked at what Subway did and how they penetrate that market so easily, so fast, and that what they did was they created an area of transparency that carried over. So Subway was able to hit and break into that market really, really fast because what they do, they took the kitchen from the back and put it up front. They gave you a menu board that was more transparent, which showed all the ingredients. Okay. Which created trust very, very quick in that market space. And then you'll look and see like Mr. Submarine, all these other places that have followed suit because it's a quickest way. So we did the same thing. We didn't create a back room. When you come into our stores, the machines are all up front and we build a store around it. So you get to see your product get made. We post all our prices. Almost any print shop you go into, they'll never post a price.
Never, yeah.
They want to be able to control that. We found a way to standardize the pricing, and then we post it. This way, every time you order, you know what your price is going to be. It shouldn't be you wondering, well, why is it 17 and hers is 16? It should be, or I can't, last time I came was 17, now it's 20. You should know what your price is every time. Because what that does is create more repeat business because there's a sense of, trust there. So, and the comfort there. Most people don't order custom apparel because they're intimidated by the process. Yeah. So that's why we try to create that store in a certain type of way that took that away.
Okay. And how do you pass down this way of doing business to your employees? Because of course you had customer service play a role in that too, as well as your as well as your business model, right? So like when it comes to employees, how do you like hire employees or instill those values and way of doing business in them?
So employees is very tough, and if you look at what small business owners do, most will hire one or two when it's just them. Exactly. And the reason being is because they failed in the process. So. Because it is really tough. You know what I'm saying? You'll hold interviews, you'll find the best person, and then, of course, they put their best foot forward, and then they're not so great. Yeah. And then, you have issues with people stealing, you have people with integrity issues, or people are just incompetent. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know. So it's tough. So what I tell a lot of entrepreneurs all the time is you can't give up on the process. For one, you can't, if you want to really to build a business that's scalable, you need people. So you have to find a way to get over that hurdle. It's not about finding the best person. You got to find the right person. So I've had people come in that were really, really talented artists that can draw, that can make shirts, stuff like that, but they weren't a good fit with what we did. Bad attitude. They weren't really trainable. Sometimes there was integrity issues, things like that. But my thing is, I give a lot of, like when I hire, I don't hire one person, I hire two or three. Give everybody a chance, because let the cream rise to the top. The ones that don't work out, you got to let them go fast. Don't hesitate. If they're not working out, just let them go. They'll find a situation that's best for them, and we'll find someone that's a better fit for us. But you can't give up on the process no matter how bad it gets, because it gets bad with employees sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to say, you know what, I'll save myself money. I just do it myself. I know I won't mess it up.
Yeah.
Things like that. But it's not sustainable answer. That's a Band-Aid that doesn't really work long term. You have to find people you can invest in. And trust me, there's a lot of people out there. You just got to, it doesn't matter how many people, you hire till you get it right. I don't care if it takes 20 employees to find the right employee. I'm going to go through those 20.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
And I think something that's key there is that a lot of business owners, like you said, just say, hey, I'll do it. And it comes from a place of being cheap, and wanting to keep that money. I've met a lot of small business owners who just overextend themselves because they have trust issues, right? They don't want to deal with all those different personalities. And some just say, hey, if I just keep it in the family or I do it, I'll save a lot of money. And that's the wrong mindset.
It is. It's 100%. So, because what happens when the day you can't go in? Who's going to make it now? You know what I'm saying? What happens when you get sick or you want a vacation? Do you just not make any money there at that time? So I always push back on that type of stuff. Most of that comes through lack of education, though. So if you're failing as a trainer, then that's where you need to spend your time and resource on. So like for me, training, because the coaching is always my strong point. My weakness was marketing, sales. I was terrible at it. I had to go take classes, Marine Valley. I've read a lot of books. I still do. I take an online class right now at Arizona State University for sales. But it's you have to find ways to get better at it. If you're not a good trainer, if your employees are, you're not having good jobs, keeping your employees, you need to self-reflect, figure out what we got to do, where we got to improve.
It's true.
There's never like a point where I can't get this right or I miss my point to get it right. You can always steer that ship in the right direction. You can always self-correct. You can always fix things and go moving forward. It doesn't help what did in the past, but it's in the past. But you can't give up when it comes to people. Like you can't give up on the process. You need people.
Yeah,
you need them.
So where is the line drawn? Because I do think some of my clients who are business owners, I feel like they're quick to fire people when some people may have potential or are trainable. Like how do you distinguish between someone who's like a lost cause and someone who can potentially train?
It was the same thing with wrestling though. So we would take a lot of kids that didn't know how to wrestle. And I tell my coaches all the time, they can walk and chew gum, they can wrestle. It didn't matter. And we've had kids that, and I'm telling you, like the first year they didn't win a match.
Yeah.
It took time, but you'd be amazed. You don't, the key is you don't know.
Okay.
So I don't give up on people easily. As long as you're not stealing to me or lying to me, I'm going to ride that process out. Those are factors that I really care the most about is pretty much trust and integrity, things like that. I feel like everything else can be taught. So like I have a manager now, she runs our busiest store. This is her first job. College.
Wow.
She was a very smart person, Marist and stuff like that. She went to Marist but we've had a trainer on everything. I mean, I've had a trainer on every steps for being in management. She started off as assistant manager. We moved her up. And it's not like it's always been great. We go through some learning curves, but she's dedicated to the process, so I'm dedicated to her. So like that's important. I just say you look at the person. If you can't look. What most business owners do is they want to find somebody just like them.
Yeah,
you're not going to. You're not going to. If you can find somebody that can give you 70% of what you'll do, you got a good person. You know what I'm saying? But you got. There's no way I can expect you to do what I do. I can't. It's. I'm always going to be above and beyond because it's my business.
Yeah.
It's not theirs. But I say if you can get to 70%, you're in a really good place. It's just, but you got to invest in people. You have to. You have to. And it's always, to me, my experience to train them. I'd rather get somebody who doesn't know what they're doing and train them. I've had people that have had experience and they come in, I know, and they don't know. And they're too stubborn to change or too stubborn to learn.
Yep.
It doesn't really work. Most people are more willing to learn when they don't know.
Yeah.
So like we have one business owner, one in Morton Grove. He opened up. He started off as a customer, and he came in, applied. We gave him a job, and he went from screen printer to assistant manager to manager to now he has his own store, his own business, and he's doing really really well. But it all he didn't have any experience coming to the door. Nothing.
Yeah. I like what you said about if you can hire someone who has 70% of, who you are, then you're good, right?
Right.
because I remember Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about this on his YouTube channel. He said, he finds it to be unrealistic when business owners say, hey, I want my employees to work just as hard as me, if not harder. And he was like, are they getting paid the same thing you're getting paid?
Yeah.
It's not their business. So you can't expect them to just,
right.
Go above and beyond.
But most relationships fail because of, unrealistic expectations we put on people, whether it be your partner, your spouse, whatever, in business, it doesn't with coworkers. We put these ridiculous expectations on people, which just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. We're all a little different. We're all going to learn differently. There's some things you're going to pick up faster, something I'm going to pick up faster. But I think it leads to too much disappointment.
Yeah. So as far as the franchising, when did you say, okay, I'm going to franchise this store? We're successful. Was it after the first or the second store?
So we did, it was always the plan from the beginning. I had to create a business model that was scalable. And what some people don't understand about scalable doesn't mean, I can just open up a bunch of locations. I got to manage them all. Scalable means, can I duplicate or replicate this in a way that doesn't require more of my time or money? If it doesn't require that, then it's scalable. Okay. So what we had to do with the first one was first we had to create the model, and that's what we did. So we started off with the revenue streams. Okay. I started out building every position myself. So when I first started off, it was just me in the store. I used to have like a shirt for every day of the week. Monday I was a graphic designer. Tuesday was the screen printer. Sunday was always I was the janitor because we had to clean, right? So, but I had to build out those positions. I can't ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. I need to know what the time frame are for doing all this stuff, right? So I would we would time ourselves on making different types of shirts, taking orders, dealing with customers, find out what processes work more efficient than others. And once you could fine tune that, then you put pen to paper. Now it was time to hire an employee. And then from there, we were growing and we were able to build out. I was doing like the assistant manager job, the manager, every job I did, and then built it out and then structured that way. Once we had the model and it was up and working, that's when we knew we were in a position to replicate it and to move over. Now we have two different models. You have a licensee model and you have a franchise model. Okay. And two different routes you can go. Franchise model is going to be very, very expensive and a lot of legal work. It doesn't really work out. It takes maybe about 5, if you look at most of the statistics, usually 5 to 7 years for a franchise owner to actually make some money. Licensing model could be a lot faster. Less legal paperwork. The owner can be 100% owner right off the bat. You don't have to really pay off royalties, percentages, and things like that. So we started off doing the licensing because it would be easy to get people in, and they wouldn't have to pay a ton of money in legal fees, and we wouldn't be taking like 50% of the profits. So we're doing a licensing model as well as a franchise. But it comes down to, like I said, we're trying to find the best situation for the new owner that's coming through the door. Whether it be the licensing model, whether it be the franchise. We want to find a situation that fits best for them financially, and also like even with the ROI, we want to make sure they have a quicker ROI. Okay.
So when it comes to your locations, you have a lot of them. Right. Are some of those franchises, or they're just
So some are corporate owned, some are franchises. So here's the thing: like franchises, I have extensive experience with franchises. Right. So when I was younger, I used to work for Browns, I used to work for Walgreens, and I would open up new stores. So I knew the model. So there's 3 different ways you can go when you talk about franchise and licensing. Okay. Everybody just thinks, well, you just buy it and you open it and so forth. Yeah. But that's one way of actually using the franchise or licensing model. The second way to do is you can do like kind of what like Willie's doing. He opened up his store, took him about total $40,000 to get it up and running, and in 6 months he'll sell it, and he'll sell it probably for about $175,000-$200,000. So he's gonna walk away with probably $135,000, $150,000 of that, and then he'll do the next store. And so that's kind of his model. I'm gonna find a location, I'm gonna build it out, get it profitable, get it employed, get it staff, I'll sell it. And then I'll keep selling. So it's kind of like flipping houses.
Nice, right? Yeah.
So every 6 months he get a $150,000 payday, right?
Hey, yeah, that's not bad.
No, that's not bad at all. The other way to do it is to open your store, to run it, and then you can make your money, and then you're ready to retire. Now you sell it off to another one person entering that franchise model. Mm-hmm. This way you walk away with something. Because so many times you see business owners, like they're trying to sell their business and all they can get is the money for the equipment. There's no really tangible value there.
Yeah.
So with the franchise, you have tangible value because it's built within a network, it's built within a brand, and people want to buy into that all the time. So those are different ways you can use the franchise and licensing model. It's not always straightforward where you just got to follow the process. You can do it a lot of different ways.
Okay, so how do you go about choosing who to allow to, open stores?
Yeah, that's tough. So we do an interview process. There's an application process. They have to pay their franchise fees. Then we start working with them. They start training. Training's broken up to 4 different phases. The first phase is usually an employee phase. So the craft side, they're going to learn actually how to make sure it's what it takes to be an employee. How we write up orders, how we do our pricing structure, things like that. Second phase is all management. So we're going to teach you how to hire, train, retrain, fire, discipline. Do schedules so you understand payrolls versus actual revenue coming in. So you can structure that. Ordering of the different supplies, materials needed to fulfill the orders. And then the third phase is all sales. So we work with our sales team. We're going to teach you how to, get accounts, how to nurture them, keep them going, stuff like that. How to get, like you said, like the different revenue streams we have, how to actually fulfill them. So like with the online stores or whether it be with schools or sports teams, things like that, or business to business. And then the fourth phase is all logistical. So it's all like human resources work, all the, NDAs, not competes. You're going to learn bookkeeping and accounting. Even though we have an accountant that does it, you still need to learn how to do it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How to handle your accounts payable receivables, how to understand like where your red areas are so you don't go too far, and things like that. So after the 4 phases, then we sit down and we go through locations. So we'll help scout out the areas they want to be in. There's a lot that we take into account when we talk about locations.
Okay.
There's a lot of good businesses that are in bad locations and they could probably survive. It just takes a much further path.
Yeah.
Anybody that does real estate, location is everything. So, we're looking at everything from average household income. So we want to know what that is. We want to know 2-parent household, things like that. We want to look at locations of schools, businesses, other screen printers, things like that. All those help us determine whether it's going to be a high profitable location, low revenue, things like that. So we put those into our spreadsheets and try to figure out the best situation from there.
That sounds like a lot.
It is. We've had people go from 2.5 months to 10 months in the training. So it's, I try to go at people's pace because at the end of the day, they got to be successful. So far, every store has been successful.
Nice.
We're trying to keep it that way.
So you spoke about revenue streams. When did you begin to implement different revenue streams into the business? Like when were you like, okay, we have this down pack because some people try and juggle too many things at once. This is down pack. Let's implement this because you mentioned online stores.
Right.
That's something that's unique.
So when you talk about revenue streams, people have to understand you got to have more than one revenue stream when building a business, right? Say I need all this, but then you also have to identify what the profit margins are within those revenue streams, right? So we looked at, when I very first started off, we went after like all the schools, all the parks, biggest orders, right?
Yeah.
But they got the lowest profit margin because they're always crying broke. So yeah, we want 500 shirts, but I want you to give them for $2 a shirt. So as we were doing it, we were getting so 1 year we did 400,000 in revenue, but we only took home 70,000, right? Very low.
Right.
So we had to readjust our business model and say, okay, we're going after the wrong people. So when we opened the store up, we wanted to go after like churches, youth groups that paid. And the other problem we had with schools and part district, people don't know, is you get like a net 30, net 60, net 90. Sometimes they go to the school year. So your cash flow is always behind. And it's very tough. So if, CPS owes you $60,000, you just got to wait till they pay you. And that can be kind of rough. So we were getting paid and using that to fulfill all the purchase orders, and you're always going behind. We decided to go into the storefront. We wanted to go after a different market. So we're looking at the youth groups, church groups. These are all individual customers. These are all people that pay up front.
Yeah.
Now cash flows immediately, and now we're good. So now when we said, okay, we're going to do schools and stuff like that, we got to cap them off. So like a percentage for me was like, at that time was like 15%. I've dropped it down to 10%. So I can't so if I'm only doing 100,000, CPS I can only do purchase orders up to 15,000 with CPS. After that, they're cut off. I need to get more from here because I can't just keep running that up. And I'm using the business money to pay for CPS as purchase orders.
Yeah.
So we built out the revenue streams, identify which was the highest profit margin. And obviously that's where all our effort went to in the beginning. And then from there, we kept growing each other one. But it's very important that people know their numbers. Most business owners
do not.
They're not. It's very, very tough because it's all about numbers. And, at the end of the day, you don't know what your profit margin is. You don't know what your raw materials, COGS, all that stuff. It's going to make it a rough road for you.
Okay. That was really good. Good information. He dropping knowledge. He dropping bombs, okay? How did you go about reaching out to like youth organizations and churches? Was this from like referrals, connections, or did you approach them?
A little of both, but like what we do is we do target marketing through Facebook. Again, this was not an area I was well versed in and was really bad at. So I took a lot of classes on it, read some books on it. But basically what we did was so if we opened a store in Mount Greenwood, we joined all the Mount Greenwood groups. Anytime they had an event, we're there. You know what I'm saying? We got to find a way to get into the group. And from there, like I said, tell people don't be too pushy. So when you post, you can do things to engage, to inform, things like that. In the beginning, you just want to inform.
Yeah.
So we're constantly saying, here, this is what we can do. We're not trying to steal any business, things like that, and then you just grow organically from there. Once we get from there, now we can get into really some target marketing. I can target your address. So when you walk out, you see my ad pop up. I do geofencing, a lot of different things that we can do to really grab attention. But you have to, whenever it comes to sales, marketing, you have to be active. You have to. You have to post. You have to post the right time of days. That's very, very important. Posting late at night is going to get you anywhere, but if you post at 7 a.m, it's going to get you very, very far. But you have to be active. What's going to work for everybody's going to be a little different because of everybody's personalities. Yeah. Things like that. You got to work within your comfort zone. But I'll tell you right now, if you're not active, you're not getting any leads or sales.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what about competition?
Okay.
Do you check up on them every now and then? Because I know a lot of business owners that I talk to, it's like some are like, I don't even pay attention to competition. I'm just making sure my grass is green, and organically we're taking market share or we're succeeding. And some say, I watched their every move. I'm not sure how that's working out for them, but they use that to create a better marketing strategy. Do you pay attention to competition or?
So my view on competition is a little different. So everybody.
Okay.
So I don't look at people as like competition. I look at everybody as like this. I'm trying to build this network.
Okay.
I can only get so far, so fast by myself. But if I can build this network, then I can do a lot more. So, with us growing, expanding, I've been acquiring other businesses too. So, like we have like a form printing business, we have a sign business. So we can do a lot of different forms of printing that we couldn't do before. Okay. And that was through acquisition. But that was not me buying up my competitors. That was them joining our network. Okay. So they have the plug. They're falling under the plug name, but you have to build a network. You can't do this by yourself. I don't really view people as my competition. We service a lot of businesses, a lot. So like Colorado, for example, we don't have any family in Colorado, no friends. We know nobody, right? My wife decides she wants to move out there. We go out there. We spent 2 days. We go out there July 3rd weekend. We spent 2 days looking at houses, 2 days looking at storefronts. I'm doing everything I can on research on the area because I don't know anything about the schools. I don't know anything about the businesses. But when we decided on that location was because it was a central place right across the street is a YMCA and a school, right? But there's also like all the other screen printer embroideries that are surrounding us. We're like we're in the middle of a circle. So why we agreed on that by I think July 26th, July 31st, we had a moving van. We went out there, spent 26 days building out the store. But while we're building out the store, I'm going to all these screen print shops. I'm going to all these embroiderers. Everybody that does what I do, like here, we're new, but we're fast. I can make stuff same day. If you're backed up, you don't have to turn away. Just outsource the work over to me. Pick it up. It'll look like you did it. You get to keep your customer. Because what's more important than the order? The customer. Yeah. How many orders is that customer going to do in their life, right? So, that's the last thing anybody wants to do is lose a customer. So we started gaining work before we were open. And I think before we opened, we did like 10 grand. But we were getting all the work from these other places that were too backed up. They could produce it as fast. Whether we were making transfers, we were doing embroidery, we were doing screen print, it didn't matter. But I know other people that go in and say, well, I got to compete against all these people.
Yeah.
And my thing is they got work I can get from them. They got orders I can get from them.
Yeah.
You know, I just got to give them, we have a pricing structure that works for them, works for us. I got to find a way to get, to get them on board.
Nice.
And that's worked out very, very well for us. Because everywhere we've gone, we're servicing those businesses around us that do the exact same work as us. People just don't know it.
Yeah. It's cheaper to retain a customer than it is to get a new one.
Yes.
So that was key about what you said. Okay, do you want to lose this customer? Or you want to get their stuff
Right.
done fast? And I always say, I post about this on social media. I say collaboration over competition.
Yes.
I feel like in various cultures, we're quick to look at someone as competition when, hey, they can help us out. When I went to Atlanta for Culture Toys, I saw other people who had children's book. I said, hey, we can collab on some things. We can make a book together. It's not competition. Even if we do have similar products, we can collaborate and we can dominate together. That's a really good mindset to have when you're in business. Like you said, you made 10 grand before you were even open.
Right.
Just by being friendly and saying, hey, we can work together.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, when we did our podcast, through the pandemic, I brought in Sarah and Trisha from Essential Creations and other people that do the exact same work we do. We work together, but we trade orders. Well, if I'm backed up, I'm going to throw her some work. She's backed up. It keeps everybody working together, and which is weird because most of those people they've all been in business 30 plus years. They don't even talk to each other. Common denominator is me, it's Dave, but it's so weird because it's like some of them, we have on 111th, there's two places, they're right next door to each other.
Yeah.
And they don't even speak to each other. And but yet they'll send work down, it's just back and forth. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's people's perspectives though.
Yeah.
They look at competition as in the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure. So how about setbacks? Every business has, setbacks and hardships or just hurdles to get over. Can you talk about that? Have you faced any building out the plug, and how did you get over that? Because I think that's key, like solving problems in business.
Yeah. I don't know about setbacks because we're still on uphill trajectory. We've only been open 4 years, and yet we keep doubling
growing.
we keep doubling over the growth. So
Or challenges.
right, but the challenges have been tons. Is a lot of times it's staffing. Again, it's not easy to deal with employees. That's your heart. I think any small business can always say that's their biggest obstacle. But as far as everything we do is very well planned.
Nice.
We don't make emotional decisions. We make fiscal decisions, which is very important. If the decision can't be equated to dollars and cents, that decision doesn't get made. Too many people are trying to make emotional decisions. I feel like this. I feel my gut. No, I mean, what does the money tell you? If you're not going to make any money doing that, there's no point in even trying.
Yeah.
We need to know if there's going to be money there, if this is going to be fruitful. If it's not, then it's not worth our effort or our time.
Okay.
I think when you keep growing, you get to a certain level, the biggest thing is time. Because I'm pulled in so many different directions. If that's not going to make any money over there, then I don't need to spend any time on that over there. So it's, you got to business owners have to make fiscal decisions. They really do.
Yeah, I think laser focus is key. It's hard for business owners to become laser focused because, like you say, you're getting pulled everywhere, right?
Right.
If you don't have your eye on the prize and have that tunnel vision, it's a million distractions that can pull you off your mission. The mission is the most important
Especially
thing.
for something that's not going to make you any money.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. I see a lot of businesses, though. That's the very worst part. So, I watched, during the pandemic, right? And this is a perfect example. Pandemic, a lot of places couldn't do the indoor eating. So they started setting up their parking lots as little patios for people to eat, right? But I saw businesses spend the money to do it, even though they were takeout only to begin with. But it was because what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And nobody ever sat there. Nobody ever did. And they took away parking spots. So that was a big, how many people, were discouraged when it was busy.
Yeah.
They spent all this money. I look at the money they spent on it. I'm like, that's just an emotional decision.
Yeah.
It could cost you a ton of money. It brought you no money. Where were you at as far as dollar? If you were at capacity already, if you're doing, your capacity is 35, 40,000 a month and you're already there, why would you waste money on something? It didn't make sense. But I've seen a lot of small businesses do it, but it just goes to show how they're making, to me, it shows how they're making decisions and they're making it by emotion, not by financial.
Yeah. And following everyone, right?
Yeah.
So do you plan on expanding anytime soon, or are you opening up new locations?
Yeah, so we're always training. We got 2 owners right now. We're training
Nice.
2 young men that are doing very well. So we'll continue to open up locations. If people want to inquire about it, they can. They can email it at theplugdaveb@gmail.com. But yeah, we're gonna try to get as many as possible before my exit strategy.
Okay, for your exit strategy. Okay, so where can I submit my application?
plugdaveb@gmail.com.
Look, I need a plug T-shirt store now. Okay, I'm seriously. It's family. You have a family,
Right.
right? And you're doing a million things at once. You're getting pulled everywhere. How is that just juggling like family life and business? Because you are raising your boys to be killers for real. I mean, I could just see it, and they're already accomplishing things in wrestling. Can you just speak on family life?
Yeah, family's tough. I have a beautiful family. My wife is amazing. Again, if you pick the right person, your life can be a lot easier. And she's the perfect example of that. She makes everything a lot easier. But it is tough. I did the first year, 2 weeks in Chicago, Illinois, 2 weeks in Colorado, and I was going back. That was exhausting. So I scaled that back. So now I do a month. I'm going to start doing a month there, a month here. But it definitely makes me miss them. It makes you wonder, it makes you like wonder why your why. Everybody talks about their why. Mm-hmm. My why is always sort of, obviously because, they're there, they're doing things and I'm missing out on certain things. But, so I value them more. So it definitely brings more value to that. But it's tough. I just want my kids to be raised like, with good morals, good ethics. I don't want them to have to do this. They're not going to be screen printers. They're not going to be anything like that. Yeah. But I do want them to get the lessons from this. Yeah. So, I tell them all the time, like they're going to have their own careers and do everything. By the time they're ready, I'll probably have exited out this industry or whatever and go into another industry. But it's, I do want them to take these lessons because they're learning customer service. They're learning a work ethic. They're learning production, management, things like that. So I am appreciative that they're getting those lessons out of it. But it's tough with the travel. The travel is very, very tough. Mm-hmm. So it's, you got to have a good partner. If she's not up for it, then I don't know how it could work. Yeah. I'm gone a lot.
Yeah, good partner is key. I mean, a lot of people in my age group choose partners from hell, right? Yeah. And I see it deter them. And
I have really good friends too because, for this past year, I've been couch surfing. So we sold our house in Chicago. So, I mean, I've had, Aisha, my partner, she's let me use her guest bedroom. And then Coach Reed, his, and then Terry and a lot of other people will. So I've been, couch surfing, trying to maintain this lifestyle. Yeah. But yeah, it's been interesting.
Okay. Can you speak on entrepreneurship in this generation these days? Like, what do you see a lot of the young bucks doing? Like, I feel like some of them have like the wrong mindset when it comes to business entrepreneurship. And the work ethic sometimes isn't there. Like, can you just speak on what you see and what advice you will give to the younger generation?
This generation is so tough, and it's going to get worse is because everybody's too caught up in the image. Mm-hmm. And so they don't have any of the value systems. They don't, I don't know. How can you run a business and you're not willing to make sacrifices? You're not willing. Mm-hmm. I see, people that all the time, even if they're just starting a Facebook business, right? A little side hustle. Mm-hmm. Don't call me after 7. I'm not answering my phone Sunday. Like, you're not telling people how to communicate with you. What you're telling people is not to communicate with you.
Yeah, facts.
But then when then when Monday comes, nobody needs a free flyer. Nobody needs this and that. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. I mean, I get people to contact me all the time. But you deal with it. You deal with it. I answer, because that's important, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to be able to put in work, and nobody wants to put in work, and that's the key. Everybody wants to be a CEO. I see that all the time. The CEO, but it's the more about the image. They're not into what it takes to actually build a successful business. They're not willing to make sacrifices. They're not willing to put in a ridiculous amount of work 7 days a week. all the things that they're not willing to do. And then I hear people, hide behind, well, I need my mental space. I need this, I need that. That's fine, but you're not going to get the result you want, so it's not going to be, what I'm saying? You can't, if, I always say, if you hide from the work, you might as well run from the success. So and that's kind of it,
I like that.
They want the success, but they don't want the work. So, but yeah, I think it's kind of messed up right now.
Yeah.
It's a shame because the last thing you want to do is create a bunch of employees. And I think this country's gone through that time period. And then the 90s showed what entrepreneurship can really do.
Yeah.
But now people can't get out their own way.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have a great idea or a great product, and I've seen a lot. But yeah, they won't put the work in, or they won't make the sacrifice, or they won't invest in their education, or things like that.
Yeah, their priorities are messed up. Like a lot of young business owners who I pitched marketing to, social media marketing, through close friends is how I met them. They have a cigar lounge or a hookah lounge, whatever, right? And I pitched them marketing and I give them my price, and they're like, I don't know, but next week they're buying like $600 Gucci shoes. I'm like, yeah. But you don't want to pay for marketing for your business, and like they don't reinvest the money into the business. So for my businesses like Culture Toys, it's really successful, but I haven't put not a dollar of that in my pocket. That's going back into marketing. I'm not making money from that right now. It's all going to, any profits is going to the marketing. But a lot of young business owners are quick to put that money in their pocket to live this lifestyle and claim it's from the business, but their business isn't growing. They're just creating a job for themselves. Basically, you create a job for yourself.
Yeah, but again, we go back, they're just making emotional decisions.
Emotional, yeah.
I want this, I want that. Not if they put the numbers on paper and say, well, that doesn't make sense financially. Yeah. Shouldn't do that. What I'm saying? But they don't do that. And a lot of people don't do that on purpose because they want to be able to do what they want to do. Which is fine. It's prerogative, but, the outcome is not surprising. It's not, at least for me, it's not. Yeah. I see a lot of businesses, even like you look at restaurants. I got a friend who owns a restaurant, a breakfast place, and nice. He does about, I think, 250,000 to 300,000 in sales a year. Okay. Yeah, but he's in debt for 200,000. So everything that comes in goes right back out. But he keeps taking out these lines of credit, and he keeps, it's about business credit this, business credit that. Like I'm a firm believer. Anybody knows me, I don't believe in negative debt. I don't borrow money. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in credit cards. Yeah. I don't believe in negative debt. So like that's not, the first store we opened was with 20 grand cash, and we've gone every store after it. I don't need money to grow, but I will use the money from the business though to reinvest. Yeah. As long as it makes sense. But you got to get out these emotional decisions. And most people can't.
Dropping gems for real. That's key. That's key. What advice do you have for an entrepreneur who's thinking about franchising their business, whatever it may be, a restaurant? How do you know?
Well, so there's a series of tasks you have to go through. So for one, everything has to be in order. You got to put your financials have to be in order. You got to have profit loss statements, balance sheets. You got to know your business inside and out, because basically what you're going to do is take that and replicate it, that business model. So it has to be put down on paper. It has to be, has to be something that's in tangible form. What I will say though is once you get all that together, you're probably going to need help. So you need to, include a law firm, taking sure all legal paperwork, because what you have to do is make sure you're protecting your brand. You don't want to give it to somebody and then they go in another direction. No, everything has to be the same, because that's the idea. When they go in your location versus that location, they should get the same experience, same product, same service. So I will say, you cannot do this without a legal firm. You can't. I don't know. I think it's impossible. You have to make sure your brand and your interests are always protected. Then from there, now you got to start putting out a plan to how you're going to actually get in front of the people, the business owners that you want to be in front of. Say not just anybody that says, "Oh, I want a franchise." But I think those three things have to happen. If you don't have your stuff in order, then now's the time to start. But you need that, and then you definitely need a legal firm that specializes in franchise, which there are. There's tons of them. And there's tons of advisors out there that would specialize in it as well.
Really?
Yeah, I think Cultivate Advisors has been a huge part of our success. I definitely would recommend them to anybody, but that's what they'll do. They'll take a small, business and then they'll help scale it to medium, to large, and so forth. They help people with exit strategies, how to sell your business, things like that, so you don't walk away with nothing. But I think certain firms like that, are very, very useful and they're worth the money. So like I said, if I invested maybe 30,000 into the franchises, they brought back $700 to $1 million. It's worth it.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely worth it.
Oh yeah. So circling back, you said you don't believe in debt, right?
I don't believe in negative debt. No.
So it's not at any point in time that you wouldn't use, because I know today, right now, a big wave is that young people are learning how to get funded, business funding.
Yep.
And whatnot, and sometimes you may need that to start, something, depending on where you are. You're like ground zero.
Yeah, so I don't believe in it. I really don't. So I did what everybody did, when you're younger. You get credit cards, got in a lot of trouble with that. It doesn't work out, right?
Yeah.
If you really do your research, right, it's the amount of money you spend back in interest with any type of debt is ridiculous. You're going to pay 3 to 5 times or 7 times what you initially bought. I don't believe business owners should rely on debt, because this is what they do with business. This is the difference between business and your personal. Okay. With your personal, you generally have a finite source of revenue, right? Finite source of income, that's it. You can work a little overtime, but that's pretty much what you make. So when your car breaks down, you need a car. Of course, you go to car dealers. Of course, you finance it. That's a solution, credit and debt, right?
Okay.
That bails you out. When you have a business, it's a totally different situation. You can't treat your business like you treat your personal life.
For sure.
And this is what people go wrong. You don't have a finite set of income when it comes to a business. The answer, so like when you run into problems, when you're just by your personal life and you got a job, your answer is, I need to go find some credit. That's going to solve. In business, the answer is, I need more sales.
Yeah.
So you can create your own revenue. I need to create another revenue stream. This isn't working. I need more sales. All right. And that's what I'm going to use to finance whatever I'm trying to do. If people try to do what they do with their small businesses, I'm going to do the credit debt. Now, what they do is they create another bill, another expense. It doesn't help. As the money's coming in, it's going right back out. I pay my rent for my stores usually in January, because December's our biggest month, right?
Yeah.
So we'll pay for the rent in January for the year.
Nice.
You just send $1,000 in for ComEd and people's gas, and then we're done. But we don't have debt. So every dollar that comes in now that year is mine. That money is used. If I need a machine, that money is used for that. I don't have to go finance that machine and then pay off this bill and pay off that bill. You got to really look to cut your bills down, because there's a lot of bills.
Yeah.
And then they accumulate over time, and they're going to be more. But there's some that don't need to be there. People have to start looking to get rid of that. When I buy my cars, I buy them in cash. I don't I write a check. I don't finance it. I don't believe in finance. With the young man that we're opening a store in Morton Grove, we got him, same thing, some financial help. His car is almost paid off now.
Nice.
He's only been open 2 months, and he's 3 months ahead of on his bills. We're teaching him this is how you do it. It's all, no credit cards, no debt, nothing. But the money that's coming in now is all his. And he's seeing it, because at first it was tight, but now it's like, holy crap, this is a lot of money, But it's great when you don't have to pay anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a firm believer in no negative debt. I'll give you another reason why too. The beginning part of your business is very important, right? Because what it does is that molds you into the type of person you're going to be. So when you have that debt and credit, say, I can take out, I'll give your business $200,000 loan.
Okay.
Most people are going to spend it on crap.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to buy the machine I need. I want that computer. I want that microphone. But then, you know what? I also need this. And, then this rug will look nice. And, it's for my customers. But it doesn't teach them to hustle. When you don't have that, like I said, when we opened the first store, it was nothing compared to what it is now, right? That store's all been doubled over. We knocked the wall out. But people could tell you, I would build up, because we didn't have the money, right? Yeah. So I couldn't build the countertop, the bar. So as we're getting the orders in, I'm going by the wood. At night, we're building the bar. The shelving, we're putting that in over time, month 3, month 4. Everything, the other machines I didn't have, embroidery, all that was added in month 6, and we're added on. But what it does teach you, though, is to hustle, and then to spend your money more wisely. you're more financially sound. You're going to make better fiscals because you don't have an abundance of it. You know, I've seen people open up their stores with a lot of money and didn't create more customers for them. But what they didn't learn in that process, they didn't learn how to hustle. They didn't learn how to spend properly. They weren't responsible. You know what I'm saying? Like that responsibility, that struggle, you need that.
Yeah.
You need that. I have to tell people all the time, credit and debt's not the answer. If you can do it, unless it's zero financing, zero, you shouldn't do it. Don't do it. If you want it, you'll save for it.
Yeah, for sure.
There was one printer I wanted the first year, and it was like $15,000, and now it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but at the time it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it took me about like 8 or 9 months to get that printer. You know, and we still have that printer. I mean, the printer's made us a ton of money. We made our money back maybe in 2 months because I knew that printer was going to make some money.
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to buy it. I wasn't going to lease it. I wasn't going to finance it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's important.
Okay. Man, a lot of good information dropped. Like, that's crazy. This man's hustle is out of this world. Where can people find you on social media?
Facebook, usually I'm on their Creed Booster, but most people find me on the Plug T-shirt store.
The Plug T-shirt store?
Yeah. Instagram, Advanced Vinyl. TikTok is the original Plug.
Yeah.
Yep.
Name off some of your locations. What areas are they in?
Okay, so we have one in Oak Forest. That's 159th and Central.
159th Central.
We have the one in Chicago, which is on 111th and Lawndale. We have Justice, which is on 79th and Archer. We have Morton Grove, which is on 6319 West Dempster. We have Oak Grove, which is the Form Fitter Factory, the printing works. That's on Devon and Oak Grove. We have the Waukegan. We have the Colorado Springs. That one's 1845 South Academy in Colorado. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. So I've been following you on social media, as you know, for a while. And Dave, like your hustle is out of this world. Seriously, I mean, I admire you and look up to you. You know, seriously. I mean, just the progress you made and your work ethic, you do not see that often these days. So I knew I had to get you on this podcast.
I appreciate having you. It's good seeing you again. Last time I seen you, we were in high school.
Yeah, high school. I was a senior.
Yeah, so it's definitely good to see you grow up and do all the things you're doing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, there you have it, people. How to start and grow a multi-million-dollar franchise with the Plug T-shirt store. Dave, follow him on social. Use him for your screen printing needs. Trust me, it's only going to be excellent customer service and good products. Thank you again for coming.
Appreciate y'all.